Hi and welcome. I thought it would be a good idea to give you the best 12 DIYs of 2024. Stay tuned. My first 2024 DIY was this cute magazine rack that I turned into a baker's rack. And I'm just taking it all apart here so that I can sand it down, wash it off, and then paint it all. So I painted every bit of it with 2 coats of Rust-Oleum white linen paint, chalk paint, and then I printed out this bakery sign and put it on some tissue paper so that I can Mod Podge it to the side of it. So I'm just putting some Mod Podge on the back and then putting it on the side here and then Mod Podging over it. Look how cute that is. And then just sanding down all the spaces that I want to look distressed, and then I am going to just put it all back together and it turns out super cute. You might want to try it next time you see one of those vintage magazine racks. Don't forget about those. They are so cute. So then I put a little bit of, 1 coat of epoxy on it, and look how cute. Turned out great. I found this cute idea on Pinterest for buttons, and I thought it would be a perfect idea for a transformation of a thrift store shaker, salt shaker. And so here is what you'll need. I got this paper on Amazon. I think I paid $9 or $10, and it's got all these colors, and it's 2-sided, so you just have to use one side or the other. But they did have some cute retro colors in there, and that's why I chose it. And so then I'm just using some flowers, but not the flower part, just the leaves, because I'm going to cut them down. And you need wire cutters, wire, hot glue, and of course your shaker after it's all washed and cleaned from the thrift store. Then of course you'll need some buttons, and the buttons I have were my mother's. She collected them throughout the years when she was alive, and a few years before she passed she gave me a bunch of them, and I thought this would be a really cute gift for my sister for her birthday. Since she doesn't have any of my mom's buttons, I thought this is a great way to put it together for a gift. Then I have these 2 cute little bees that I thought I would put on 2 of the flowers and make it look even cuter. So first we're going to want to put some type of foam inside, and I thought it would be easy to just cut a part of a pool noodle from the Dollar Tree and just stick it in there. And now I chose this color of the paper, and I'm just cutting it down to size because we're just going to roll it up like this and put it inside of the jar part. Then after you've got that all straightened out, you want to grab your noodle in order to hide that blue on the top. I thought it would be a good idea just to take a piece of the paper and cut it into a circle and stick it on top. Then you just want to put your lid back on, and look how pretty it is already. So now you want to grab your wire. This is a 20 gauge wire that I've gotten off of Amazon, and I will have that link in the description for you so it'll be easy to find. And I'm just measuring about where I want to put the flower, the first flower, and I punctured it through the paper so that it would go into the foam. And this is the first button that I'm picking, and it has a little back on it to hook the wire to. And I'm just doing it inside this so I know approximately how long I want to do these for the first one. And I'm just pushing that down and using the pliers because my fingers won't work very well with this. And it's really simple to work with. I'm a weakling. So then, as you can see, it came out, but I'm still measuring so I make sure how tall I want it. Then I kind of wrapped around my fingers to make it kind of wiry, I guess, and then hot glued the back of it so that it would stick to the wire and it would face forward instead of flopping around. So there's the first one. Now I'm measuring for the bigger button, so that's going to be a little taller, of course, because it's a bigger button. And this time I thought it'd be easier to put it on here first and get that all situated and glued, and then work on the wrapping it around your finger to make it a little curvy. And see there, I'm showing you what the back looks like and just gluing that back onto the wire. And look how pretty it looks. I love that button. And then just wrapping it around my finger like that and then pulling it out so it looks kind of like it's growing out different directions. And then just do the same thing. You want to just puncture it through so it gets into that foam so it can have the stability it needs. And then you just continue on with your button and keep doing it until you have enough buttons that you want to make a full bouquet of flowers. Now these had holes in the center, which made it even more easy, so that you can just like thread it like normal thread and then just twist it around and do the same thing. I clipped off excess wire so it didn't poke out, and then just glued it down as well. And it would be so pretty with all kinds of colors, just different color buttons. I just love this idea. This one's a little flower looking one. I thought it was really cute and did the same thing. So then just over and over and over again until you have enough to make the bouquet. And look how cute it is already. I've got almost all of them done and just finishing up this last one. And now we're all done with the flower part. Look how cute. At least the button part. Now I've just got those bees and I'm going to glue one on that big flower, a big black and white flower. And they turn out so cute. And then I'm going to put one on that pink one in the center, sort of center. And it's just really cute. I just love this. I love how it turned out, and I hope my sister loved it. I gave it to her on the weekend. So now I'm just cutting the leaves down to make small leaves, kind of long and pointy, and gluing those on each of the flower stems so it'll be on the wire. Just putting a little glue on each end there and placing it where I think it would grow. And look how cute. And then just do it all the way around until you've got them all filled. Now you can skip this step altogether and just leave it the way it is if you like it the way it is. But I kind of liked the idea of having the cute little leaves on it. So now I have all the leaves, and I'm just going to put another ribbon around the neck of the shaker to kind of spruce it up a bit and make it look like a cute little flower arrangement. And I think it turned out so adorable. Let me know in the comments what you think, because I really think it turned out cute. See? 2024 DIY number 3 is this wonderful flag that I did with some spindles, and I'm just painting an old spindle. I cut it to a certain length and I'm using some fabric that I had left over, and it is just some red and white striped, and I'm just stripping pieces of it as well as the blue and white, and I'm just going to tie the strings of each of those so that it's like red, white, and blue, kind of like a flag. And it turns out super cute, and I have some lace and some white fabric that I incorporated in it to make it look rustic and farmhouse. So this blue and white I thought would be cute as where the stars go, so I just cut that out, and then I'm gluing that down, and then I use a doily for the stars, and I thought that is a cute idea just to use for like an old-fashioned flag. So then I even went further and cut out the little pieces between each of the doily pieces to make it look like stars around that round doily. So then I put a string on it and hung it up, and it turned out super cute. I love this, and I'm going to put it out every year for the 4th of July or any kind of patriotic holiday. Let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy it too. For my next easy fall thrifted DIY is this little bowl, and I've got these IOD stamps that I'm using. They're just the letters. I'm taking this little thin tape from my husband's garage. That's why it looks kind of dirty. I couldn't find my other tape, so I'm using this one. And I'm just going to line up the bowl so that it shows it kind of straight, kind of. Now this paste is like a chalk couture kind of paste that I'm using, and I thought it would be better that I use one that I can wipe off or wash off of this bowl because I didn't want it to be permanent. But I'm using these letters to spell pumpkins, and it looks kind of yellow in the video, but it is more of a pumpkin orange. And it took me several times for this to actually work and to look semi-decent, so I hope that you still like it. So then you couldn't see it very well. So then now I'm using this black paste to go over it to see if that helps, and it does come out a little bit better, but then again it's still like really dark looking, and that's not what I was going for. So then, because the black didn't look very good, I thought, well, the orange will pop off of that black, because the orange and then the black and then the orange, and it did. It helped it quite a bit, and it is a farmhouse look, what I was going for, but not quite as rustic as it turned out. But you let me know what you think of it in the final reveal. I picked up this sign for, I believe, $2, and it is already a really pretty sign, at least the saying, and I thought it's a little outdated looking for me, and I wanted to use it for my Christmas sign. It needed to be sanded really well because there's some rough edges on it, and to get those thick layers of paint off. So I took it out and I sanded it down, and I got up, some of that green, which I didn't mind having that green because I can just paint it. It's already smooth. So now I'm using some Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint to cover the base of this, and I ended up giving it 3 good coats. So first I'm going to use the IOD tree stamps, and they are so pretty, and they come with these little cutouts where you can utilize them to see how you want to put them on your project. And then also you can cover up the area that you've already painted or stamped, and then stamp over it so it looks like it's behind that first tree. It's pretty cool. So I'm deciding where I'm gonna do this first big tree, and this tree is really super cute. And I'm gonna use some chalk paint here, and this chalk paint is moss, and I've learned by watching other YouTubers that if you put it on the brayer first, then it goes on easier on your stamp and you're not over inking it or, you know, putting too much paint on it. So I'm just putting a little bit out on the parchment paper, and then I'm going to roll my brayer in it to get it on all areas, and then I'm going to roll it over my stamp. And another thing I forgot to mention is putting the stamp on the protectant plastic sheet that they have that comes with it. It's easier to work with the stamp on this, and then you just wipe off that excess that's gotten on there somehow. And also, if it's a crooked tree, it's a crooked tree, because that's how trees are anyway in real life, and then you can kind of straighten them out with other trees around it. And I sped up this video, but you want to press down gently all the way around, make sure it's all on there. And look how pretty it comes out. I didn't have enough on the bottom there, and then some actually come over, but if you have a wet rag and chalk paint, it just comes right off. And also, I think the ink will do the same. So now I'm picking out my next tree that I want to use and doing the same exact thing I did before. And using these trees are so much fun. Once you get it down, they are pretty easy to use. And if you have enough room for your bigger projects, that would be nice too. But it just turned out really pretty. And once you get it down too, you know kind of how much paint to put on each thing or ink, because this one turned out really pretty, this tree. And it covers up some of that tree that's already there. So here is where I'm using the cover for the tree that I just stamped, because I want this tree to look like it's behind that tree. And so that's why I use this one. So then I'm leaving that one there and using the bigger tree cover so that I can put this tree behind that one to look like there's more trees growing behind those trees. And you'll just want to keep doing the same thing till you get the desired look that you're going for, in front or back. And it's just so fun and easy to use. I just love doing it, and it turns out really pretty. So to add some dimension with the trees, I thought it'd be cute to have a lighter color. And this is some leftover CROCK Couture ink paste that I have, and it's in the color Pesto. So I'm using one of the trees, and I want to make it look like it's in the back there. So I'm going to cover it up again and make sure that the ones in front are covered, and then use that paint in the back. So this is gonna make it look like there's a few different color trees. And I only need to do the half top portion of it because it's not going to show the bottom part because of the covering of the other trees there. So it, you know, you can play with it and just do whatever looks good to you. And I just kept kind of eyeballing it and adding more of the lighter trees, and then it just made it pop. If you can see that, it just gave it more dimension. And see how I have that crooked tree, like I said? Well, now I can straighten out the picture with this tree in the background, and it helps it out a lot to make it look more foresty. So it's just really neat that you can cover it up to put the tree on the back of it, or just leave it if you want it in the front part of the picture. And I just had a lot of fun. And the one here, I decided to change the color to the lighter instead of the darker, and it just added a little bit more dimension to it. And then I did another tree of the same one on the side, and it looks darker. So, oh, and make sure to dry your paint in between each step that you're covering, because you obviously don't want to smear it. So I should have mentioned that. So in between each of these, I had waited, or I used my hair dryer to dry it quickly. So you just want to play with it and just do whatever looks good to you. And this is how it turned out for me. And of course, some of them I had to go back, like this one, and redo it so it was darker to make it look a little better. And then another one I had to redo that was in the darker paint here. And it was a lot of fun, and it just turned out so pretty. I loved how it turned out. It's really pretty how it is. I could say Merry Christmas and be done. But there's more to this picture. So let's move on to this step. This is the IOD Santa mold with the reindeer and presents with it. And I'm going to use some air dry clay. So now I'm using some water with the air dry clay because it has gotten a little stiff, and just making it a little bit softer. And I'm just spreading it out over the sleigh mold and trying to get it as even as possible and pressing into it. I should have used some cornstarch on this beforehand. That's the normal way you're supposed to do it, but I totally forgot, but it still didn't stick. So I should be okay. So you just want to spread it out best you can, and then make sure that that back part is very soft and straight and flat, so that when you put it onto a surface, it's flat. So then now you just want to gently take it out, and it seemed to be just fine. It stuck a little bit, but you want to make sure that it doesn't ripple. And it did a little bit on this once it dried, and I didn't realize it till afterwards, but it still was really cute. So the second time around, I remembered the cornstarch. So I just put some into the mold of the reindeer and tried to get it as much as I could in all of the little areas. And then I shook out the excess and started putting in the dough clay into the mold, and tried to smooth it out as best I could. So when I was taking it out, I thought, I was being very careful with it all, but it looked like I broke the antler. It got stuck in there, and then the leg was a little broken. So the only thing is that you can, with this clay, you can get some water, and it's kind of like glue. Just make sure that it's really wet, and then kind of smooth it out, and it's fixed. And also, next time I'm going to try to use the amazing resin for these instead of the clay. So you'll want your clay to dry for at least overnight. Mine had sat for a few days before I got to it, and I'm using, it's like the Rub and Buff Antiquing Gold, and I got mine on Amazon. And I'm just going over the bottom portion of the sleigh, and then I'm going to go up and around throughout the area of the sleigh to give it some gold texture. So then I thought it would be pretty to do all the bows and the ribbon on each of the presents that are inside of the sleigh, and to balance out that gold. Then I just did a light brush stroke on top of the texture of the flowers and little design on the actual sleigh, just to have that pop out as well. So then I thought it'd be a good idea to put some red into the flowers, the poinsettias, and then the presents, and of course Santa's hat and coat. So I'm doing that all throughout this. And in retrospect, I think I would have just left it all white with gold, but it did still turn out really pretty, and even with the red in it. And I think it's more Christmassy anyway, but it's still pretty. And the red is just that deep crimson red from Folk Art chalk paint. Then then I just dusted over all of the red and everything that I just done with some of that gold, just lightly, as well as Santa's face. So now I'm using this antiquing brown wax for the body portion of the deer. And you want to be careful with the dry clay on the legs and the horns because they break very easily and they're delicate. And I was getting kind of really rough with it, and I broke the one leg and a part of the horns off. And luckily they glue on really easily, and it stayed on pretty well. And so I'm just doing all of the body and just doing a light brown antiquing to it and rubbing it back. So then after I got that done, I decided it needed some gold to match the sleigh. So then I'm going to get some of that same antiquing gold and putting it on the harness and on the horns. So then to match the sleigh with the red, I thought I would put a little bit of the red paint on the harness so that it would match. And then I rubbed that back a little bit so it wasn't so dark, and made sure that the gold was still coming through. And I forgot I did rub some gold all over the deer after I did that too. So it's got the antiquing wax plus the gold over it. So now the star I thought would be pretty, just do all gold and just get in all the crevices and make sure it's all covered completely with the gold. And that was really pretty. I love this star. And I don't think I showed you, did I? I'm sorry. This star I made with one of the molds too. It also is an IOD mold, and it's an icicle mold that has a pointed part that would go to the bottom part that I just did the top for this star. And I'm sorry I missed showing you that part. I think I lost a video on it. So now I'm taking some Jolie white wax and just going over the top to kind of mute it out a little bit to look kind of snowy. And I'm going to do that with every piece that I've done so that it all blends together. And now I'm just positioning them where I want them, and I want the sleigh and reindeer to be going over the trees, of course, and the cute little star right there at the top. And I thought that would be really cute. So then I'm just going to take some Gorilla wood glue, and this works so well with the dry clay and any wood surface. I haven't tried any other surface. Oh no, I did try glass when the clay is wet. You want to use it on glass so that it molds. But anyway, it just worked really well, and you just want to put some pressure, but be careful that you're not putting too much pressure on these molds when they're this thin, because they can crack. So you have to kind of be careful. Looked like I was like putting all my weight on it. But be careful, because they can break very easily. And then just put the reindeer on there, and I think I had to wipe some glue off, and that's what you want to make sure that you don't have any excess glue all the way around, because you'll be able to see it. Even though it's white, you'll still see it. And now I'm just gluing the star down. It looks so cute. So then for the finishing touch, I thought it would be cute to put some of that antiquing gold all the way around to kind of frame it in. And then I used some to look like kind of the ground there on the bottom, so that it kind of looked more whimsical, I guess is the word. I don't know, but to make it look kind of more like a scene. And then just went clear around, and then kind of here and there throughout the white portion and in the trees to blend that gold all through, so it kind of looks kind of antique. So I hope you like it, because I think it turned out really pretty, and I hope that you'll try using the molds on something and the stamps. But those tree stamps are so much fun. You can do them with anything. So then I just took some white wax and went over the gold just to kind of mellow it out so it's not so stark, and it turned out Beautiful. For my next Beetlejuice DIY, I'm taking this Dollar Tree pumpkin that I've had in my stash, taking off the little tag and the stem for it. I won't be using that. So I saw this little trick on Instagram where you take some hot water and some taper candles and you can bend them into whatever shape you want. So I got this set on Amazon and they were 12 for $12, so not too bad. And you just sit it in and let it sit for 15 minutes. After it's been sitting for 15 minutes, you can see it's kind of starting to curve on its own. And you just want to gently bend that, in the direction that you want and in the shape that you want. So just go really slow and careful. If you go too quickly, it will crack. And I did crack this one a little bit, but not horrible. So you just want to be careful and bend it however you want. You can make these into those cute little ghosts, but I wanted it just to be like this. And you can see here I used my X-Acto knife and I cut the hole in it a little bit bigger because what I want to do is put that candle in eventually. So because it is Beetlejuice, I want to do black and white stripes on this pumpkin. So I'm just going to take some white chalk paint here and go every other little bump that's on there so that it will give it the look of the black and white stripes. So now that the white is done, I'm just taking some black chalk paint and doing the same thing. And this one was a little bit more tedious. I woke up this morning with some arthritis, and that always makes my joints really creaky and stiff, and as well as a little shaky. So it took some time to get this just right, but it turns out so super cute. You'll love it. So now I'm just taking some more white to touch up where I kind of got some black on, and then there were some see-through parts where you could still see the orange. So I just wanted to touch that up and make sure it looked cute. So now that the candle has had time to dry, I am going to paint this all with some black chalk paint. And it turns out so pretty. So I thought I was videoing how I put this in the pumpkin with some moss around it, but I did not. So I apologize. But this is what it looked like. I just hot glued both the candle and the moss on it, and I think it turns out so stinking cute. Let me know down below what you think. I got this box for free. Someone was going to throw it away, and I just saved it and thought of this idea when I got my IOD supplies. So it has this cute lid on it too, and what I'm going to do is just take some of that same moss chalk paint and give it a good coat all the way around, inside and out. So now that that's done, I'm taking the lid and I'm looking at it because it did have some staples that they had stapled something to it, and some of that wood has holes in it. So I don't want it perfect, but I do want to fill those holes up, and I'm using this spackle to fill those holes, and then I'll sand it down. Now that it's all sanded, I'm just going to go ahead and use that same paint and cover both the back and the top of it. Now that my wood is prepared, I have chosen this cute little cottage sign, label, I guess you should call it. And I'm just going to make sure I have both sheets, the backing and the gold sheet. And at first I thought I wanted the little wording all the way around, so that's why I'm cutting that out here. But I end up trimming it back because it wouldn't fit on the box. So now I'm taking the part that I want to be the front part of the box, and I'm going to measure where I want that label to go. So when you're doing that, you should probably use that backing, and I didn't. But I was really careful not to press down so that it would stick to the box. So once I had it where I wanted, I pressed down and I used my fingers to adhere it down so that it wouldn't move. And now I'm just using the tool that comes with the transfers to scrape it off. And you want to gently pull back on a certain spot and start at one side and pull back gently and go from one side to the other. And I'm learning as I go here. So again, as you're peeling back, you want to make sure you got all the leaves, all of the words, and some of those are really fine, so you want to make sure that it spells right when you're done. Once again, you want to use the shiny side of the backing and gently rub in circular motion to make sure it's adhered to the wood. So now for the lid, I've chose this really pretty scrolly design, and I'm going to put one on the front and one on the back side of the lid, and it turns out so pretty. Again, you just want to repeat the steps and just make sure it's pressed down and just start rubbing with the tool and gently pull back. Once again, rub it with the shiny side of the paper at both sides of the lid. So then I took both pieces and gave them a good coat of Mod Podge with really nice strokes so that you couldn't see, uneven strokes through it. And make sure to be careful with the gold. I also did the inside as well to protect that paint because I plan on putting things inside it. I tried to find some finials for curtain rods, and I thought I had 4 of one kind, but I didn't. And so I ended up having to buy some on Amazon. And if you want, I'll have the link down below on that. But I'm painting these with that same moss paint. And I showed you that it had the screw in each of them. That's how they came. And so I took them out, but I should have left them in so it'd be easier to paint. So then this is what I ended up doing. It made it easier. So now I'm going to use this antique gold. It's almost like a rub and buff, but it's a different brand, and it goes a long ways. So I originally was going to use a rag, but I ended up using just a brush. I just wanted it to look distressed with the gold to match the gold on the box. So here are the ones that I originally had from the thrift store that look like that, and my hubby went and cut it down for me so I could use this for the lid. And I wish I had 4 of them because those are super pretty, but it still turned out amazing. I'm so proud of this piece. So I liked that bronzy color behind it, and so I just wanted to match the box, so I'm just using that same rub-on gold and just going over it with a little bit of that color hint behind it. It is really pretty. And then for this piece, for the lid and the legs, I gave them each a coat of Mod Podge. Now to see it all come together, it turns out so pretty. So I've got this, it looks really shimmery on the front, and then I'm just going to turn it over and put the legs on. So now that I know where I want to put them, I'm just using my hot glue at the higher temperature and just putting quite a bit on it so that it will hold and sitting in exactly where I want them. And look how pretty it looks already. I love it. So then I'm going to measure the center portion so that it will have the knob right in the center. And it isn't exactly a square, so I had to kind of use my brain and mark where I wanted that to go. So then again, I wanted to glue it down with hot glue, so I just used that and put a bunch on the bottom and sat it right there on my mark in the center. got the idea for my next project from a Pinterest post, and this is what hers looked like. So how I did it, I used a plunger from Dollar Tree. You will also want to get a 4x4 and cut it down to size, and I'll have the measurements in the description. There's my cut down part of the plunger, and 2 tuna cans, of course, cleaned and not smelly. So then you want to take the 4x4 and just measure the center portion, because that's where you want to glue one of the cut dowels. So now you just want to take your hot glue and grab one of those dowels and tuna can and just glue the dowel to the center portion of the bottom of the tuna can. You want to get it as accurate as you can. Now for the other side of the dowel, you want to just get some glue and glue it to the center mark that you put on each of the 4x4s. So now I'm going to paint them with some black chalk paint, except for one side or one panel of the wood base. So then that one panel, I'm going to paint it just some white paint, and I do finish the bottom with some black paint. So now that whole part of white I'm going to cover with the Mod Podge. So after letting the Mod Podge dry, I'm just putting my picture that I printed on my laser printer with the tissue paper on it, and I'm going to use that same parchment paper and iron technique, and it adheres to it really well. So then I'm just going to use some light sandpaper and remove the excess tissue paper that's on around each edge. So of course you want to seal it in with a nice coat of the Mod Podge over the top, and make sure it's matte for like any kind of farmhouse decor. That's what I'm using here. Then I'm just going all the way around the whole piece, including the tin can, to seal all of that chalk paint in, and we're done. And we're just going to repeat the steps for the taller candle holder. And I really love these. I think they turned out great. Wait till you see it at the end. So you can use Dollar Tree bath mats for this project, and I purchased a drop cloth for $10, and I used a minimal piece here. And you can use any stencil for this. Plaid sells them at Michael's or Walmart, I believe, and it is just a transfer type stencil. And this one just happened to be one that I had on hand, and it just says Bloom, but you can use single letters for the stencil as well. So I'm just centering this on as best I can on that piece of drop cloth, and how I did the drop cloth is ripping it so that it has rough edges. So now I'm just using the chalk transfer paste on here. Plaid sells this as well in all of their craft stores, and I'm doing an ombre type of a thing, so I'm doing darker and then lighter to give it that ombre look, and it turned out super cute. When you remove the stencil from your project, just go really slow with it. I sped it up for this video. Now I think Dollar Tree has similar stencils that are just single one-line type things like this, and I stuck my finger right into the wet paint. I kind of messed that part up, but I kind of fixed it too. So I just put that trim along each end, and it turns out super pretty. Here I'm cutting and trimming down the rug, but the Dollar Tree rugs, you don't have to do this, and I think they're just the same exact size without having to cut anything down. This rug has the fringe on the ends of it, and you can also purchase fringe for not too much if you want to add it to it, but I'm suggesting just to go with the Dollar Tree to keep it within the $5. So I flipped one side over to the other side so that it had fringe on both sides. And then now I'm using fabric hot glue so it will stay together a lot longer, and it should withstand washing it, but to be careful when you dry it. And I'm just doing like opposite sides, so when you turn it over you can't see the seam. Also, if you could sew, if you know how to sew, it would probably last a lot longer if you did sew it down. So now that it's glued, I'm just flipping it over so the right side is out. And then I'll use that same glue to glue the front of the bloom part on all the way around. So now I'm gluing the other side over, and when I do, I have to flip it so it has a seam on it, if that makes sense, because you're doing it from the right side inward, and you want it to look seamless so there isn't any fraying or anything. And it's pretty simple. And then on the ends, it's a finished edge, so I just went through and glued one side and had a finished edge there. And I didn't have to turn it under, if that makes sense. And then now I get to stuff the pillow. So then I just use the same glue to do the same thing I did on the other side to close it up. And this side will be harder to keep it closed. So I used some Dollar Tree clamps to hold it down until it was dried. And wait till you see it on my chair. My next project is this cute little pitcher. It didn't have the lid that usually comes with it, and I think I paid like $1 for it, and you might remember it from the 70s. No, wait, I think it's 80s or 90s. But I'm going to rough up the front of this with some sandpaper, because I'm going to use one of the IOD molds to put it on the front of it, and you want to rough it up so that the air dried clay adheres to it well. And then just wipe it down really well. So I picked up this super cute mold from IOD, and I am using the smaller pumpkin. Look how cute that is. You can do all kinds of things with these, and I'm just using this smaller one, and it says to use cornstarch in it and just lightly do it so that the clay doesn't stick. So I'm just getting a spoon and just getting a tiny bit because you don't need much in it, and then I'm just going to rub it all through the mold, even into where the stem is. You want to make sure you get it all through there. And then you want to make sure to shake off all the excess cornstarch. I can't believe I did this, but I thought I was filming the pumpkin and I wasn't. So I'm going to show you what I did with the pumpkin part in this leaf kind of. And I just kind of, you want to get as much of the clay you can and stick it in the area that you want, and then just remove the excess with your thumb. And I'll show you a picture of the type of clay that I'm using, and I love it. It works really good, and it takes a little bit to dry, but it's super easy to work with. So then once you have all of the clay even with the one side, then you just want to gently remove it from the mold and pretend like this is the pumpkin because I ended up not using this leaf. So I'm just going to show you here, if I can get it out. There's the leaf. Sorry about that, but this is what it ended up looking like. Look how cute this is, and you have to be very gentle with that stem. So it's said to use a couple of different things to adhere it to whatever that you're using, and it said wood glue would work really well for this, which it did. It stuck to this really well, and it's holding up. And so I'm just giving it a good layer of the wood glue on the back side, including the stem, and then as soon as I'm done with that, we're gonna adhere it to that cute little picture. So you just want to be gentle with it and be careful not to squish it in the areas on the front of it that you don't want squished. And the good thing about on the glass and with the glue, you can slide it around if you need to, which it was really easy to do, and I just kind of put light pressure on it enough to adhere it without squishing it. So then if you have some areas that you kind of dinged or it's coming up a little different than what you'd like, you can just take some water and rub over it, and it smooths it out really nicely. And also around the edges, if you want it to be more connected to your project, then if you get some water around those edges, it will pinch it out so that it can like groove to the glass or the wood, whatever that you're working with. I apologize, but I seem to have missed filming a few different things that I did here, but I'm using that same paint that I used on all of the other projects and gave this 2 good coats. But before that, I let that mold dry to the picture for about 24 hours before I started painting it. And it's holding up so well. I just love it. I just can't wait for you to see what it looks like at the end. And also, I didn't paint the inside of this one either because I want to use it for flowers. So now I'm taking some antiquing wax, which you can see I've started already, and just going around the outer edges and into each groove of the pumpkin, around the little leaves and that, and then even in parts of the around the whole picture and on the handle and everything, so that it looks distressed. And look how cute it looks already. So then I took it outside, and I'm using my 2x clear Rust-Oleum, it's supposed to be matte spray, and I gave it a good coat because I wanted it to be seamless. And I ended up putting a little bit of Mod Podge on the front of the pumpkin because it was too shiny when it was all dried and everything. So I would recommend to use Mod Podge on this as well. But I love how it turned out. picked up this already cute sign at the thrift store, but it was a little broken and I don't like the Paris theme. And I thought it would be perfect for what I want to use it for Halloween. So I'm just undoing the little screws that were left on here and taking it off so I can paint the front of it. So before I used this, I did wipe it down before I started taking it off. So just so you know, I did clean it. And then I'm just setting that metal piece aside. So I'm going to take this, it's like an off-white reticate chalk paint that's similar to the color that's on it already. So I went to my Silhouette Cameo and I printed this out and cut it, and it is going to be just a stencil for me, and I'm transferring it to the transfer tape. Never mind that says Cricut, it was on sale, even though I have a Silhouette, but I'm just getting this transferred over so that I can line it up easy onto my project. So now I'm going to place it onto my project here, and it was a little difficult because I cut it a little off, so it was hard to see my piece of metal that I was putting it on so that it would be straight. So I had to kind of keep looking at it and redoing it, but I think I got it. I did speed this video up, but you want to be very careful of peeling that transfer tape off because it can rip your vinyl. So now I'm just taking some black chalk paint and a small stencil brush from Dollar Tree, and I'm just filling in all the spaces with the black. I wanted to share with you that I now have a channel membership, and there should be a join button below this video, and you can click on that. It will give you all the information and details, but there's a lot of perks that are involved in it, and I would hope that you would join me and make this a fun adventure for all of us. So here I'm just slowly pulling up the vinyl from my paint because I don't want that to come off, and being careful how I'm doing it. And I had to take my gloves off because it was sticking. So just be gentle with this part as well. And I'm using my tool to kind of pull it up as I go because it was starting to stick to the paint. But once you get it off, it looks so pretty. So now I'm going to take this ink and distress the sign. And I got some black paint there, and instead of taking it off, I left that as a part of the distressing because you don't want it to look brand new for Salem. And I apologize for my bandage. I cut myself pretty bad the day before and took a while to stop bleeding. I thought I was going to need stitches, but thank God I didn't. But I'm just going over this whole sign with this ink. And at first I was kind of like going to do the sides, but I ended up doing the whole thing. So now I'm taking some matte Mod Podge and just going over the top of this to protect it. I want to protect that distressing more than anything because the paint will pretty much stay. I just don't want everything to rub off, so just want it to last for a little bit. So after I let it dry, I'm going to put it back onto this frame, and it is missing a few other screws, so I had to have some out of my little set that I have and added to the other two that were missing, but it worked out really well. So let me know what you think, from Paris to Salem. And I hope you like it better. I thrifted this sign for $2 and I thought it would be perfect for this project that I want to do. And I should have sanded the letters down, but I'm lazy. And I decided, you know, the paint would cover it, which it did after I think I did 3 coats. But I'm doing kind of a messy, rustic look to it. So around the edges, I'm not painting the full wood. I'm just going to paint over the letter parts and then make it look kind of rustic. So this is a paint inlay, and while the paint is wet, I'm taking this tree and I'm thinking I should have cut the paper closer to the tree than I did, but this is the first time using this and I've already ruined one of them. So I learned from my mistakes. You want to do it wet because it's a lot easier. Just gently press down as you go and make sure that it's flat. I used a brayer on the last one and it didn't work very well because my brayer wasn't flat, and so it ruined it completely. So I just think using your fingers and getting the bubbles out is probably the easiest and best way to do it. So then I forgot to mention that you want to put the picture with the grid side up, and then now use a spray bottle or spritzer of water and spray it down, and then get a rag and just dab the water off. And you're kind of pressing the print into the paint, and that's how it becomes inlays into the paint. So it ends up being really simple once you figure it out and once you know a technique that works best for you, because like I said, my first one wasn't so great. And so it does take some time to get used to it. And as you're dabbing it, you know, you can see where it needs a little bit more water, and just spritz a little bit more and then dab it. So you want to make sure everything is completely dry before you do this step. And you want to gently pull the paper back. And if the image is not inlaid the way that you want, or it's not fully there, put it back down and then spritz it again, and it should, and do your dabbing again, and it should still work. So mine right in this area here looked like it wasn't working, so I had to kind of spritz it again and lay it back down. So it turns out really pretty, but you just have to be patient and you have to be very delicate with it so that it doesn't rip and that your image is exactly how you want it. And look how pretty it turns out already. And we're not done yet. So this part I totally didn't plan. I put the tree off center from top to bottom. And so I thought it would need something underneath the tree to kind of balance it out. I originally was going to put the word Christmas, but my daughter gave me the idea to do O Christmas tree, just with an O and Christmas. But it looked kind of plain with just the O, so I did the O and an apostrophe, then Christmas, and then tree underneath. It turns out so beautiful. I originally was bawling because I ruined the first one. And so I guess it was meant to be, because this really turned out beautiful. So as you can see, I lined it up onto one of the plastic covers that come with the stamps, and then I just used my ink pad and dabbed it on. And I kind of measured beforehand to put lines of where I needed it to go, and I'm just making sure that it's pretty much straight. So then I'm just gonna push down on it, and I only have one of each letter, so I have to wait to finish it off with the S at the end. So now I'm taking that single S and using the ink pad to put some on, and then just putting that at the end of the word Christmas. So now doing the word tree, I can only do the TRE right now, and then pull the single E off and do it again. So we're just gonna measure that out, because I have my little mark of where the center is just above the I in Christmas. So I'm kind of gauging that as far as where I want the tree word to be, and just making sure that it's somewhat level and that it looks good, and it turns out really good. I'm so proud of this piece. So wait till you see when it's completely finished, because we're still not done after this. So now I'm taking that same vintage antiquing gold, and I'm going to do the star and all of the ornaments and just highlight the certain areas that are white showing, if that makes sense, so that the color will just pop out. I think it turned out so pretty. Let me know what you think. Well, that's my 12 favorite DIYs of 2024. I hope that you enjoyed them and think that they are your favorite as well. All the links to each of these videos will be down in my description box below. Also, I have a membership that you can join, and I would appreciate it if you could. It helps me purchase things to continue to bring you more videos. The join button will be right below this video, so please consider to join. My plan for 2025 is to bring you more DIY videos, helpful tips, thrift with me videos, thrift flips, as well as creative ideas for your home. Thank you so much for your support throughout this last year. I appreciate each and every one of you, and 2025 is going to be even better. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.